You're about to watch an interview between me and a UFO expert who exposes the shocking connection between UFOs, demons, and Hollywood. You don't want to miss any detail of this interview, so make sure and watch it to the end. Now, without further ado, let's get into the interview. Today, I am interviewing Bradley Burnham. Bradley Burnham runs a YouTube channel called Strange Normal, where he explores UFOs, aliens, and their connection to spiritualism and the New Age. Bradley, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
How did you become interested in the subject of extraterrestrials?
Well, it's an interesting thing because I have not been interested in that topic ever, but I was normally I'm just a Christian going to church, and I thought, you know what, there's something interesting in this. I was between jobs at the time, and I thought, why have so many people gravitated to this form of strangeness? I mean, it was just so weird that they would go into this stuff, and I thought, if there's a following in this, there has to be something to it. And so I thought, I didn't think it was spiritual at the time. I thought it was just something people gravitated toward, and I thought, I'll dig into this a little bit. And I tell you, as I dove into it, I realized there was a huge spiritual battle that was happening, and it was much greater than I anticipated. In fact, it dove into last day theology as we understand it, and it dove into spiritualism, and it was not just people having some strange experiences. It was something that happened, reoccurring things that would happen over and over again that were exactly the same. It turns out that it has some strong ties to the Bible. And so we're going to get into that a little bit, but I think it's a fascinating topic, especially about last day theology.
Wow. Is there biblical evidence for life in outer space?
It's a very contentious topic among Christians, and a lot of people debate this. I think there is significant evidence in the Bible for that. Particularly, one verse stands out in Luke 15. Jesus, he tells a parable about the lost sheep. And we've heard this over and over and over again as we have gone to church, and we've heard these stories, and we've read the Bible. But one part of it stood out to me. If you don't mind, I'm going to read a portion of that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It says, then all the tax collectors and the sinners drew near to him to hear him. And the Pharisees and the scribes complained, saying, this man receives sinners and eats with them. He spoke this parable to them, saying, what man of you, having 100 sheep, if he loses one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and go after the one which is lost until he finds it? And when he found it, he lays it on his shoulders, rejoicing. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, rejoice with me, for I have found my sheep which was lost. Say to you that likewise there will be more joy in heaven. So he's directly comparing this to heaven over one sinner who repents over 99 just persons who need no repentance. So what man on earth, I understand there's a lost sinner, and there is also the people that have come to the grace of God to be saved, but what person on earth needs no repentance? There's only one just person that has lived a life on earth that needs no repentance, and that is Jesus Christ.
Right.
But what if he's not comparing it to people? What if he's comparing it to worlds? We know that there are just people who have not sinned, not people per se, but creations. For instance, we know there are angels for sure. And so what if this is not pertaining to just one lost person, but one lost world? I think that's one small piece of evidence. There's also in Hebrews where it talks about the worlds, plural, and I think that's an interesting thing to go through too. But I believe that that God has been around for a long time, and the Bible isn't focused on telling us about other worlds out there. But I do believe that there is we are a theater for the rest of the universe, because nothing like this has ever happened before.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine with how vast the universe is that we are the only planet with life on it, especially considering that we have just scratched the surface of what is out there.
Absolutely.
UFO sightings have been reported by military officials and civilians alike. The US Navy has even released footage of supposed UFOs. So, it's not fake. Even President Clinton and Obama have admitted there are objects in the sky that they can't identify.
There's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory.
What do you make of all of this?
So that's interesting because this is what really got me into it. Because at first, when people said UFOs, you think of a cylindrical ship or something like that that was hanging around outside. That's not what people are seeing. What they're seeing is actually these round glowing orbs. And I think that's fascinating too. Because when they see these lights in the sky, what does the Bible refer to as angels? It refers to them as the stars of the heaven. And so I think it's fascinating that they're seeing these things floating around and they're not obeying physics. So there's 5 observables that that the government classifies a UFO, or now they call them UAP, which stands for Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. And these are the 5 observables. And this is how they know what they're seeing is not from Earth, they said. This is something else that they're just fascinated by. Number 1, it has positive lift without an energy signature. So the military sees these things. They are looking on their scopes, they're looking on their IR cameras, their flare, all these different instruments, and they're saying, we see these things through multiple instruments, and it doesn't have a heat signature. It doesn't have a wave propulsion, and yet it is able to stand up and stay in the air. How is it able to do that? We don't know. The second one is instantaneous acceleration. They're seeing not just a slow movement and the speed up of these things as they take off, but they go from nothing to boom, out of here really fast. And they're not sure how that's even possible with physics. And number 3, hypersonic velocities. So there's one that they recorded off the coasts of the USA where the thing came from 80,000 feet all the way down to sea level, just a few feet above sea level. I'm in the States, so I'm measuring in feet. But it did that in a split second. They said 0.78 seconds. So they said, I don't know how this thing is able to go and then stop. Anything organic that would be inside that, they call it a vehicle, would be squished. Physics would just mash it against the walls. And so they said, whatever this thing is, it's not obeying physics. The 4th one is low observability. So the thing, they say, vanishes. It just disappears sometimes. And usually it fades out, fades back in, and it's literally gone. And what the military says they're seeing is in the daytime, they're seeing these round, glowing tic tacs. They call them a tic tacs because it's more egg-shaped, and it's white usually. And then in the nighttime, they're seeing these glowing objects. The 5th observable that they say is the transmedium travel. So when they see these things, they go from all over space, in our air system, and then they fall into the ocean, and it acts as if there's nothing changed. It just goes boom, boom, and it's up and around, maybe even through physical objects, and they're just amazed at how this is able to transverse through this different mediums that they have. They say nothing we have and nothing our adversaries have can do this. And so this is what fascinates people, because if they don't have a spiritual background, they don't know what to make of this stuff. And that's what we're having trouble with our military right now, who doesn't have a spiritual background, is looking at this stuff going, we don't know what this is. We need to study this. And yet we have people in the Pentagon, and this has come out, that are Christians. And they're saying, this is a very spiritual event, and we don't need to touch it. We don't know if it's good or if it's bad, but it is definitely not of this world. And just don't mess with it, because it's definitely more powerful than we are. And so that's the whole strangeness behind this whole thing, that the military is coming out and saying, help us out. Let's identify these things. we need you guys to tell us more about these things because we're not sure what's going on.
Yeah, so these objects and their behavior is definitely out of this world. They defy gravity and physics, and it seems like they're from another realm. And of course, like you said, we know as Christians that there is more than one realm to existence. There's the physical realm and there is the spiritual realm. Now, you talked about some common shapes that are reported in UFO sightings. And like you said, the disc-shaped UFO objects that we often see portrayed online or maybe in the media sometimes, that's not what people see most of the time. Most of the time they see some kind of orb-shaped objects. Can you speak about more of the significance of that? What is that indicating that this could really be?
Yeah, so this is interesting because this isn't just from the military either. There's a group of volunteers. I mean, a big group. This is a huge organization called MUFON, MUFON, Mutual UFO Network. It's a bunch of volunteers that get together, and when the police say this is too weird for us, we're going to tackle the going to people's houses and talking to them and stopping the crime. But when people are saying, spiritual things are happening and weird stuff is happening in the house, they call MUFON. MUFON comes in and says, okay, we'll take a report. Tell me what happened. We'll determine if the person's crazy or not. Then they start taking reports. Well, they're finding that the reports that they're unable to understand and the ones that aren't crazy have some similarities. And so they document this process and they say, what did you see? And then they categorize all these things. They say the things that they were able to categorize, 90% of them, most of them are the same round-looking object. In fact, I have the statistics up here. Circular, spherical, ovular, round, disc, tic-tac-shaped, blimp, egg. All these are describing pretty much the same thing. The rest of the shapes were kind of like a star shape or a diamond shape. And as they can see them up there, glowing. And oftentimes they are bright, glowing if it's in the nighttime. So it's a really, really strange thing. Like here's some other statistics from night. Fireball, flash, glowing, gleaming, which is interesting because this is exactly what the Bible says when it talks about angels. Their clothes shined like lights. Their body was glowing. Their feet as fire. They describe these things as they could back in the Bible. But we're seeing the exact same things happening today in our lifetime. And so I think it's interesting that this whole concept of UFOs and stuff has kind of been swept under the rug as, those crazy people that talk about this stuff. And now it's coming back with a vengeance. And it's going to be play a bigger part in our life here pretty soon.
So it's interesting that you say that they have similar characteristics to the way angels are explained in the Bible. And of course, we know that there are good angels and there are bad angels as well that are out to deceive us. So can this be connected to the evil angels and their deceptions for the last days?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this is really interesting because we're seeing some things that a lot of times when you hear reports about this stuff, when you have someone on the news, on mainstream media talking about this, they say things like, we need to reach out to these things. We need to be more well-informed about what's going on here. These things are maybe even dangerous for our ships because they might run into them. So we need to try to contact them. I parallel that to Genesis 3 when God said, hey, don't reach out to that tree over there. We don't need to talk to the demons. The same thing's happening right now. There is some rules of engagement in the spiritual realm. That's what I like to call it. And when the devil is here on earth, he's a very powerful being. I mean, this is his place where he's staged his rebellion, right? So he's here with us, but he has gone kind of silent. At least we can't see him visibly. And so when we have these experiences, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make us come out and talk to them. They are trying to, they want us to engage with them, because if we do engage with them, then they have the ability to do some crazy stuff. Because what happened with Eve? As soon as she was able to talk with this thing, I mean, the plan just went immediate. I mean, really fast. He was able to make her do exactly what he wanted her to do. And so I think that's what we're seeing right now, is we're seeing them come out and want to engage with humanity, and the rapid events are going to start happening after that. But we haven't gotten quite to that point yet. But we need to be very careful about this, because even there is ufology professors that study this stuff, and they're coming out in the news right now and saying we need to study this. We need to reach out to these beings because we believe that they are absolutely trying to communicate with us.
So I was going to say, so let me get this right. This could be evil spirits appearing as some kind of extraterrestrials to get us to reach out and engage with them, to communicate with them, so they can receive some kind of legal right to interfere in our lives.
Correct. And you know what the interesting thing about this whole thing is that the way that humanity has found the best way to communicate with these things, not me, but the other professors that have been studying this for quite a while, they said the best way to communicate with these things and the way we've been able to engage with them is through Eastern meditation, transcendental meditation.
Wow.
So it's very strange how all this is coming together, and it's a very new agey gather in all religions to do this type of thing.
And so what's the purpose of transcendental meditation in the New Age? When you perform transcendental meditation, what are you trying to accomplish? Who are you trying to communicate with according to the New Age?
According to the New Age, well, what I've seen is, and I haven't done this personally, but from what I've read, it's a form of emptying your mind, emptying yourself, so that you are able to receive whatever it is that's out there. People hear voices. People have, they call them out-of-body experiences, where they think they're seeing something that is exterior to themselves. They have it's a form, for me personally. This is my personal belief. It's allowing an inhabitant or a spirit to come into you, to show you things, to talk with you, and quieting that still small voice that might be the Holy Spirit that would prevent this from happening. That's my understanding of transcendental meditation.
Right. It's been a while since I studied the New Age. I studied the New Age in the past, but I think they even did things like this in order to try to come in contact with their spirit guides. And of course, we know that those are just demons in disguise who are deceiving people. This is just another form of deception. And it's very suspicious that one of the most effective ways now to communicate with aliens is through this New Age practice.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's really fascinating what's going on.
Let's talk about alien abductions. What are alien abductions, and what are some things that people report happens to them during these abductions, and how does that help us understand who these aliens really are?
Yeah. So this is interesting because this is not just in the lore. I call it the lore of these alien abduction type stuff, because Tucker Carlson has actually come out and said when they see these UAPs above them and all this other stuff happening in the military, they're also seeing poltergeist activity, ghosts, strange shadow people, all this other stuff that you would think would be would normally put you in a loony bin. They're seeing this stuff and they're locking down their military. They're locking down their buildings. They're saying something's happening here. We don't know what it is, but we need to lock it down because we think that the enemy is in here. Something's happening. And so photographers I've seen this activity and these crafts, and they try to take pictures of them. It ends up, they see what they think in their mind to be huge ships, and what comes out in the Polaroid is just giant, tiny little star. And so what's interesting about that is I do believe that Satan can make it appear as if there are things going on. Maybe he can transmit that to our brain somehow, make us see things that I guess we would call augmented reality. I mean, he has access to us, but
he does have some, I think he does have some like access to our minds. He can tempt us and, give us thoughts. And also I believe that people can receive bad dreams as a result of Satan's influence. And so I guess it would make sense that he can even cause us to see things that maybe are not there.
Yeah. I mean, of course, it's always God allowing this stuff to happen. God has full control over everything that's going on, but there is temptations, and there is a huge deception that's being tested right now, is what I think. And if we open the door to those things, we will start seeing all kinds of stuff. The way open doors happen is you dive into the New Age, you dive into the occult, you contact things through the Ouija board. Maybe you'll bring something home that has been, dare I say, cursed. I didn't normally want to dive into that stuff because I think it's kind of strange, but at the same time, there is something about it, and I can't figure it out completely, but there's something about ties to objects. There's a former occultist became Christian. His name is Roger Morneau, and he's a good Christian guy now. Well, he's dead now, but he was a good Christian guy. And he says if you have anything in your house that has been tied to the occult, you have an open door. And we see oftentimes that, well, look in the Bible even. God said, you have access to this person, but only through this object, a tree. And so there is something to objects that demons can, attach to and say, okay, I have access to them if they're in this vicinity of this object over here. So we need to be very careful what objects we bring into our house, because it can have something to do with demonic activity.
That reminds me of even the book of Acts. It talks about some people who were converted and they burned their books of magic.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, and also, when I was younger, before I was a Christian, I used to play the Ouija board, and I had some experiences where afterwards, especially, well, I played the Ouija board, I used drugs too, and so I think that weakened my mind, and also since I reached out and engaged with evil spirits, even though I didn't know exactly what they were at the time, that gave them access to my life. And I think this especially became apparent when I became a Christian, because at that time I started experiencing bad dreams. There was even a couple of occasions when I heard voices in my head. Fortunately, after some time that went away, but it wasn't without a struggle. It lasted like a year, like several nights a week. I would have bad dreams where I felt like somebody was holding me down, and I had a hard time breathing, and it was a terrifying experience. And I attribute that to playing the Ouija board. I would do like tarot card readings with people, and I think that opened a door which I shouldn't have opened.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I had a similar experience where I started having these, they call them night paralysis. You'd wake up.
Yeah, exactly.
And you couldn't move, but you felt something cold and terrible. I mean, I can't describe the feeling of something that was evil, but that's what it felt like. And you'd wake up and you're thinking, something bad is going on right now, and I don't know what it is, but it was dark. You can't move. You can barely even move your eyes, and then all of a sudden it just kind of just fades away, and you can, and some people say it's a medical condition, but as soon as I stopped looking into this stuff, as soon as I put away all the strange stuff, all of a sudden, boom, everything stopped. No more night terrors, no more stuff. So there's something to that. There's absolutely something to that. And in fact,
for me,
if I can just plug this real quick, I did a short documentary called Starfall, which is about half hour, and it kind of explains what's going on here in society. It takes it from a Christian view and brings you all the way down to about a year or two ago, and up until that point. Then I started a podcast and continued from there. But it's a fleshed out documentary that explains a lot. Starfallmovie.com is the website if you want to watch that.
Right. I saw that documentary. It's a really good documentary, and I highly suggest that you guys watch it. And you were talking about the sleep paralysis, which you had. I had the same thing. I didn't want to go too much into detail about it, but since you mentioned it, it was suspicious for me that I started experiencing this like right after I was converted. And I would have it several times a week, and it lasted for about a year until it finally went away. And I think what was going on is there was just a spiritual struggle going on in me, because I had accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, but demons, they don't want to give up that easily. And so they'll fight for control of you. But fortunately, I stuck to my faith, and later on, I was able to overcome that.
Praise God. Wow. It's amazing. I mean, what I've seen in statistics is 1 in 4 people have had a strange experience like this, like you're telling right now, or they have seen something. Even my father has come out after I started talking about this stuff and saying, "Hey, there's ties in the Bible with this stuff." He's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen those circles in the sky before." My cousins have come out and saying, "Oh yeah, I've seen that triangle, that strange thing that happens between these things." And there's reoccurring patterns as you dig into this stuff, and that people are seeing, and it's absolutely spiritual, absolutely demonic. So it's really interesting what's going on right now.
What do you think gives demons the ability to appear as aliens?
So that's an interesting topic. Appearing as aliens, and why would they want to appear as this strange creature, right?
Exactly.
I think what's going on right now is we're seeing that a lot of atheism, a lot of the side of society that wants to believe, but they want to believe in something because that's what we're programmed for. But we are there's a side of society that doesn't want any moral connection to it, no moral authority. And so we have scientists that are perhaps atheists, and they say, well, I'm not going to believe in God until I actually see something. This is going to make everybody, this whole thing, when it breaks, is going to make everyone, even atheists, come back and say, okay, there's something spiritual. There's a pattern here. And I believe in a creator or a some kind of being that's bigger than I am. But it doesn't have to be God in this form. And so what this is doing is bringing everyone back to be a form of spiritualism and believe in something. And so I think that's what we're seeing right now, because that's what the news is saying. I mean, Joe Rogan, one of the biggest podcasters on the internet right now, is saying that he thinks that these things created us, and that we should be very careful about how we approach them and all this stuff. This is all being set up.
So what do you think Satan's ultimate goal is in impersonating aliens?
So Satan's ultimate goal in this is very interesting, because we see this happen in the Bible. In Revelation, it talks about this. There is a huge deception that's coming. So Revelation 16, I believe it's 14, talks about 3 frogs. I'm going to look that up real quick. 13 and 14. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world, to gather them to battle of the great day of God Almighty. So there's 2 things. These things, when they appear to the leadership, the kings of the earth, and to the whole world. It's the Revelation specifically says it's going to appear to everybody, and it's specifically going to appear to the leadership. And for what purpose? To gather them together for a battle of that great day of God Almighty. Well, what is the great day of God Almighty? It's the second coming of Christ. So he's going to make a show showing, hey, all these things that you've created are on my side. These are mine. And he wants to make that display for the rest of the universe, saying, I've even rallied them to battle you, if that was possible, to come back. And what we're seeing in the news right now is that we've created a space force, and we're weaponizing space right now for something that's coming. In fact, I dove deep into the lore of this. We have a Discord private community of about 70 people that are diving and grabbing a hold of this and saying, what is this? What's going on here from a biblical perspective? And what they found is one of the master books of this whole ufology, one that has been channeled, has said that there is a demonic being. This is what it says. It says from a flipped around view of Christianity, demonic being that is coming. And it's coming from the Orion area. Why Orion? I don't know.
Wow.
But it says it's coming from the Orion area, and it created the 10 Commandments. And it's coming back to destroy us. We have to defeat it. That's what they're saying. That's what this channeled book of ufology is saying. And so this is what I believe is coming out in the near future to maybe even verbally from these demonic entities that are going to appear to leadership of our country, who might have
that's
already.
Completely anti-God.
Yeah, it's completely anti-gun and completely reversed. So that's what's happening right now.
I got a question for you. What do you think about the Mexican alien? Did you see that?
I did, yeah. We actually covered that just this last week on the channel. It's an interesting story. We see this all the time. So what happened was Congress in the U.S. had a big display. They had a lot of pilots come out and they said, "This is happening. We're pilots in the military and we're Pentagon officials, and we want to tell Congress that you are being lied to, and there's big programs that funds are being funneled into to study this stuff, and you guys should know about it because Congress acts as a watcher of the government, and if they can't see what's going on, it's a big problem for the way our government is set up." So something similar happened in Mexico, where they said, "We want to do this too. We have the same issues," and we're discovering that every major country is having these strange issues. They're having a study program done on UAP or UFOs. And but Mexico comes and they're like, "Yeah, we need to talk about this, and let's invite not only our Pentagon officials, but let's invite people that have studied this also that in our society." So they invited these UFO researchers, and they came out with these what they called alien bodies. And so you have a legitimate pilot coming up there and saying, "We're seeing stuff," and then they come out with alien bodies, and he's just beside himself going, "What is going on here? I wasn't told about this." And so he said stuff on Twitter about it. He calls it a display and this terrible rhetoric and all this other stuff that happened. He said, "I wasn't informed about this." But what we're seeing is, I don't believe what we are seeing are actual alien bodies. But what Satan does is he uses anything he has to continue this message. So if people are lying about this, if they've made stuff, if they've said that these things are real, he'll use that to talk about, to make people, to seed the mind with the idea that there are extraterrestrials until he has permission from God to appear to leadership and things like that. So I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Right. I didn't dig too deep into that story either because I was immediately convinced that that was not a real alien that Mexican guy rolled out.
It's really fascinating. But I mean, we've been seeded by this forever. Not only just by these aliens that were put together through animal bones and whatnot, but also by Hollywood and any other form of media. We have, I mean, think about every major Hollywood production: Transformers, Lilo and Stitch, major like of Star Wars. I mean, it seems like every month comes out with a new movie about how aliens are good or bad, and they're here to either help or destroy. So I think there's major seeding going on just through the idea that hey, something out there is beyond us, and it's not our moral authority. And so even the news has come back and said that, hey, maybe we're believing this stuff because of what we're seeing in Hollywood. Anyway.
Yeah, that's fascinating. So how Hollywood, through all of these movies, are actually conditioning us for communication with aliens, which is really just demons in disguise.
Right, exactly. Yeah, really fascinating stuff.
And it's kind of not surprising coming out of Hollywood with all the dark things that come out of Hollywood.
Exactly.
Okay, Bradley, thank you for sharing your incredible insights about the UFO phenomenon and with me and my viewers. If you'd like to learn more, click on the video which you see on the screen to watch Bradley's documentary entitled Starfall: The Strange Connection Between Christians and UFOs. Also, don't forget to like and share this video to help spread God's word. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.